Hello Galactic family. The reality of the fifth dimension is becoming a frequency in which humanity is growing every day. Our visions, sense, preferences are changing as we increase our vibration to match the fifth dimension. The states of increased awareness, compassion, and knowledge are just beginning to blossom. As our sensory systems align to higher frequencies, we gain more awareness of the multiplicity of dimensions. Being cognitively involved in the fifth dimension allows us the ability to analyze this dimension. This does not mean that you are functioning in this dimension. Only your thoughts believe that you are grasping the reality of it. Let's have a brief understanding of how we got to the fifth dimension. Dimensional light. If the 3D world is a hologram or illusion, we are never really coupled in this dimensional field, but we are superimposed on this field as a shadow. If we participate in each dimension as a shadow, what happens when we make the light shine on ourselves or the dimension? Science says that light exists simultaneously in two states: electromagnetic waves and linear flow of particles called photons. Light is no more than an electromagnetic frequency dimension that interacts temporarily with other dimensions, which is why it can have two states simultaneously. Light can really exist in all dimensions simultaneously. However, this still cannot be proven. What we are experiencing as light is the result of these states of energy. Like the three dimensions existing at the same point in space, the other dimensions of light also occur. Like human experience, the light we know so well is nothing more than the fractionation of this composition. Our awareness on this subject is just a grain of sand in the galaxy. What happens when our belief system is hit enough to break the grain of sand itself and reorganize the atomic structure? Duality. The journey of the soul is perceived by a three-dimensional construction and is limited to shadows and illumination. Just like above, then down. The part of the galaxy in which you are holds this duality. Even the nature of your being is in duality. You exist, but you do not. Your spirit exists, you cannot see it. The center of this galaxy you call the Great Central Sun is composed of a binary star that has two parts. This star is creating the basis for which the rest of the galaxy was designed, for the simple reason of its push/pull. There are some other basic laws that define your reality, and this only works in the first three dimensions. When we come to higher dimensions, we do not have all the laws of physics applied. The first 6 dimensions. Each dimension exists for a different reason, with no similarities. It is speculated that an infinite number of dimensions exist in the vacuum called space. They all have their own rules and behaviors intertwined with each other, but they never touch. Some are superhighways for energy, while others are built to have an experience. Whatever the reason for the dimension, it is beyond our grasp of comprehension. To try to explain, it would be like talking about a spaceship to someone in the 12th century. Let us describe and examine the first 6 dimensions that exist in this hologram. In the zero or null dimension, there is a constriction of energy. It's just a point in massless space. There is more to being a placeholder for dimensions. Think of 0 dimensions as a GPS coordinate that gives a specific location for a body of energy to exist. Without the 0 dimension, there can be no hologram. In numerology, number 0 is a spatial support. In the first dimension, we have room to breathe. It is quite linear in your design, since there is no other dimension except the null. The dimensional plane will remain in the same linearity in your perception, no matter how you try to understand more, because you simply cannot show more. It cannot be more than a single plan, for it is what it is. In numerology, 1 is a new beginning. Now we are starting to get really excited because we have one more addition to the dimensions. This new dimension, the second, adds amplitude to the singular plane of the first. It gives us the ability to finally create concrete depth and substance as we perceive the first, based on the finite element of the first. With the first two dimensions null in a 1-inch place, we see the second dimension as something like a paper board. When we look sideways, from this angle, it becomes solid, waterproof and looks like a line. When the paper is inverted to its writing surface, we see it as a large area, but we have no concept beyond the length and width. Only when we bring the third dimension into play do we conceptualize the fullness of all three. In numerology, the 2 is duality, humanity versus divine. The third dimension is the one that gives the height to the length and breadth, the final step necessary to create an area that can have mass. This does not mean that it will have mass, only it can. We take for granted the third dimension as something that only is. We arrive at Earth with the total perception necessary to have the first 3 dimensions activated and open. Third becomes solid. The third dimension makes everything dense and vibrates more slowly. The slower the vibrations, the more our thoughts perceive it as a solid structure. All these lower vibrations help to form the dualism of being in human form. If you look at the light, it is a frequency that vibrates so fast that it has no structure but still exists. The 3 dimensions give us the ability to have an experience on Earth without continual communion with the Spirit, which happens in the next 2 dimensions. In numerology, a 3 is a catalyst number and tells us that we would not exist, but for the third dimension. The next dimension is the fourth. It is difficult for us to understand the quantum shift that occurs with the fourth dimension, but let's say it is considered a place to be and transfer energy. The quantum state allows many dualities to exist and which, when analyzed from the third dimension, do not make sense. The fourth dimension has no purpose except to create room for the next 7 dimensions. It anchors all the energies on the planet and establishes the conditions for the existence of man. The fourth dimension prepares us to work with the highest dimensions and allows us to be on this planet in whatever energy we want to use. It is considered a bridge dimension. We have already mentioned how many of the dimensions are no more than a way to transfer energy, and 4A is doing just that. The fourth dimension creates an environment for bidirectional communication with the high frequencies of the light. It also allows communication with Gaia, Spirit and any other being of light as ascended masters. Remember that the ascended masters once shared this third dimension plan until they reach a high dimension. They are still here, but vibrate in a larger dimension so that we cannot see them, just feel. Vision is a third-dimensional sensory organ. Those who say they are seeing high dimensions are doing so through a limited range of eyes, the pineal system and chakra. The chakra system extends up to 15 meters and has 144 levels, carries frequencies that are of a higher dimension and passes them so that we can perceive them through pineal, and if the DNA has expanded enough, also for the eyes. Therefore, the fourth D is the earth and the bridge to the highest dimensions. This terrestrial bridge allows us to bidirectionally flow energy from dimensions 5th to 12th. In numerology, 4 is the energy of Mother Earth, the physical world and things based on structure. The fifth dimension completely changes the attributes of Gaia and humanity. When this is fully incorporated, there will be less need to learn when we reach the fully awakened body and remembering everything we have done. We recognize, and it is part of Akasha that the 3D lessons do not apply. Unceasing will the necessity disappear as we become the chief manifestos. With self-control comes the wisdom and the knowledge to apply the manifestation in a loving way. We have transformed ourselves to be in service as the Pleiadians did 100,000 years ago. We choose how to exist and on what planet we exist. The hologram of the lower dimensions has no attraction. We form ourselves in the fifth dimension and project around us, making us one with energy. In numerology, the 5 is change. Evolution through frequency. As we raise our vibration, we convey to our spirit that we are evolving and ready to receive more light. When working on the first 3 dimensions, we can only send information to the spirit and not receive them back. That is how the veil works and was done through magnetism and intention. His light was used in the creation of the veil. You and billions have united and created this magnetic field and the dynamics needed to participate in Gaia. You have decided to keep your DNA in 2 states separated by the veil, and hold for Gaia in the crystal cave or Akasha. It's easy to get DNA and separate the 12 layers when we use magnetism and intent. The hardest part is understanding that there are 12 layers. The dimensions, the light, the planets, everything is here to help us experience. We do not need to label all the minutiae or try to figure it all out. We cannot under the 3D perspective. What we can do is work on the lessons and come from a loving and compassionate place. Life and dimensions as we understand them are a mirror to our personal experience. No 2 fingerprints, dimensions or similar experiences. Enjoy the journey knowing that there are many parts of you in many dimensions doing the same.